Hi guys, welcome to another Road Pilgrim car review, and today we have the Audi SQ8 with us on review today. And for those of you who don't know, the Audi SQ8 actually is a sportback SUV from Audi, and it's actually very closely related to the Audi Q7 and SQ7 in a sense where it's the same platform. The Q7, or rather the SQ7 and SQ8 share a similar powertrain, same setup. However, the SQ8 is actually a 5-seater sportback, which means it has a nice sloping roofline, pretty aesthetics from the outside, whereas the Q7 is a regular SUV that has 7 seats, and it's of course more practical, but you know, this car does bring a little bit of a different aesthetic angle and appeal to the market as well. So what we're going to do for today's review is that we're going to run through the outside review, the exterior, and then we're going to show you the interior, and then we're going to bring the car for a drive, because after all it is an S-Line car. So without any further ado, let's go. Alright, so here is the exterior of the Audi SQ8, and as you can see, this particular test car has been spec'd in all black, and it's also blacked out. Black grille, black wheels, and also the window sills or the window linings have also been blacked out, and that's actually very cool. But the spot of silver that you see in the side view mirrors, these ones right here, are an absolute beauty. And the reason I'm so taken by these side view mirrors is because if you remember the Audi S-Line cars from the late 2000s to the early 2010s, all the S-Line cars and RS cars actually had these matte or satin chrome side view mirrors, and I had these mirrors on my old Audi A4 B8 as well. So this is a little bit of a throwback, to be honest, because for some time the Audi RS cars and S cars actually stopped doing this. So I think this looks absolutely gorgeous. Here's the front profile of the car. So if you compare this to the Audi Q7, it's actually got a little bit more of an aggressive stance. It's a little bit more scoopy at the front, less squarish. So if you are into aesthetics and you don't require 7 seats, I would say that the Q8 is probably something that you could, you know, potentially look at. This current test car has 23-inch wheels, which are absolutely massive, and the front wheels are actually 285, 35, 23. So these are monster wheels. They look like they're the same at the back, so this is not a staggered setup. And as we walk towards the rear, you can also see that this roofline, although not very pronounced, it is a little bit slopey because it is in a way sort of a sportback. What I really like about Audi sportbacks is that compared to other brands which tend to overdo the sportback element a little bit, the coupe roofline a little bit, Audi sportbacks tend to still be quite reasonable. And as a result, later when we climb into the back of the car, you'll also see the roofline doesn't affect headroom too much as well. At the back, you got that full light strip across the back, very handsome at night. Of course, right now, as I'm doing this review, the sun is blazing, so you don't really get to see the full effect of it. But overall, I think it's been a long time since we've seen like a completely blacked out test cars. In fact, you know, most of the test cars we get aren't black because they're actually pretty hard to photograph and to keep clean as well. So this is a nice change. This is a nice change of pace, and I think this car looks absolutely gorgeous. What do you guys think? If you guys have any inputs about the SQ8 and the way it looks, please tell me in the comments. You know, you can be honest. You can tell me whether you like it, you hate it, anything about it. So yeah, so let's jump into the inside and I'll show you guys the interior, because as you know, Audi interiors tend to be very tech focused. So I'll give you a very clear idea of what that looks like in a bit. Let's go. Okay, so now we are climbed. Okay, so now we are inside the Audi SQ8 and we're gonna take a look at the interior, because this is a lovely interior. One thing that catches your eye the moment you get into the car is of course these wonderful Audi S-Line seats, which are in a beautiful red color, a bit of an ox blood color if you will. The design language of the SQ8's interior is actually pretty similar to the rest of the Audi range, and I think that's just something that Audi does, right? A lot of the design language is very similar, so It does look quite similar to a Q7, and for that matter, actually it looks quite similar to many other Audi cars as well. But what you do get in the SQ8 is the 2-screen setup, and the top screen here is where you get your main Audi MMI system that connects to CarPlay and Android Auto. Of course, you got your main menu selections as well, and below here you get a dedicated screen just for your air conditioning settings, which is very useful because I think a lot of cars today have tried to compress the aircon settings into the main infotainment unit in a bit to make the dashboard a little bit more sleek and clean, but honestly it's a bit of a faff to adjust your aircon settings while you're driving, so this makes it a lot easier. Of course, there is an argument to be made that physical buttons would actually be better, but I absolutely get the fact that Audi wants to make their cars a little bit more tech focused. Tech has always been sort of their main draw, and I understand that this is the way going forward. So with that in mind, this is actually, I think, a very reasonable middle ground where you have a touchscreen. There are lots of options here, including ventilated seats, which are of course very useful in Singapore. You might be able to hear a low hum in the background, and that's because my ventilated seats are running, and not only that, but my massage seats are running. So this car, or this particular test car, does come equipped with a massage seat function as well, which, you know, obviously it's not going to be as good as like paying someone to massage your back, but as you are driving long distances, I think the massage function is actually pretty useful because it does help to kind of circulate your blood flow a little bit and to, you know, revitalize you or rejuvenate you a little bit as well. Here, further down, as with all Audis, you get this airplane lever style shifter. So this is a bit like a airplane throttle, and it is a drive-by-wire. So all you need to do is just push it down to drive, and then park is just a button. You got your handbrake here as well, your electronic handbrake here as well. Up here you do get a S-line steering wheel, although this is not a flat bottom steering wheel, so I think that also kind of tells you, or you know, visually gives you a cue that this is not an all-out performance SUV like the RSQ8 is gonna be, or for that matter other RS cars. So this is a S-line car, doesn't have the flat bottom steering wheel. And here you've got the very famous Audi virtual cockpit. It was kind of like the digital instrument cluster that started it all, right? Everybody kind of took the cue from Audi after the digital cockpit was launched, and now everybody has digital instrument displays. But this Audi virtual cockpit has various modes, so you can change it out. So under your settings function, you can adjust it from a classic mode to a S performance layout, and then a dynamic layout as well. So you got 3 different configurations to choose from. This particular car also comes with a heads-up display. As far as heads-up displays go, it is a fairly simple one. And to be honest, when I was driving around, I actually didn't really notice it was there as well, until I came into the display settings and I saw that there was actually a setting for the heads-up display. So I don't know, some of you might find this very useful. Personally, I don't really utilize a heads-up display too much. But yes, so all in all, to round off the interior, I think this is a very well appointed cabin. You've got nice soft touch materials, got a very techy center console. Its build quality is immense as well, and I think currently, in the current crop of cars, Audi probably has one of the better build qualities among any of the brands that you see today, any of the mainstream brands at least. This thing is built like a rock. You don't hear a thing, not a single squeak. I'm trying my best to actually shift it with my leg here, and you don't hear a thing. So that is pretty cool. That's something that I really like about Audi cars, and I'm not sure if you can see this, but yeah, I probably can't, but lining the trim is actually this, I don't think this is real carbon fiber, I'm not sure if it is, but there's this nice carbon fiber finish as well that really adds to the sportiness of the SQ8. And of course, you know, if you've got a more standard Q8 mile hybrid, you probably, you know, these would be a little bit out of place. But I think on the SQ8, this works very nicely, and it goes very well with the red seats and the black dash. So I think this is a very, very nicely appointed interior. Let's jump into the back and see what the back is like, because after all, the Q8 or the SQ8 is a sportback. And what we've seen with many sportbacks, especially the BMW sportbacks, is that they tend to eat. There's actually quite a, you know, the sloping roofline does eat into headroom a little bit. So we're going to see how this one performs. Alright, let's go. Alright. So, jumping into the back here, let me shut the door. What you have is acres of legroom, and this is nice because this is already in my this driver's seat is already in my standard driving position, and I'm 175 meters tall, and this is the amount of legroom that I have at the back. So if I'm comfortable at the back, I think most other people will, and I'm a fairly big guy as well, so that's nice. At the back, a lot of creature comforts. So you've got individually zoned air conditioning controls at the bottom here. So one for the left passenger, one for the right passenger. You can control your own air speed, fan speed, and your own temperature, and that's really nice. You do get, aside from the center console air vents, you also do get air vents on the B-pillar, which for those of you who have followed my reviews, you know that I'm a huge fan of B-pillar air conditioning vents, because I just think they hit your body a little bit better. Otherwise, you know, the center console one just kind of like, they always brush past your knee and your knee always gets frozen. So the B-pillar air vents are actually very nice. But I think the reason we are in the back of this car is for one key reason. So I'm sitting up straight right now, alright? And this is the amount of headroom that I have. Of course, granted, it's not like immense amount of headroom, but the sloping roofline of the car has not really affected the car as well. One thing to note though is that this test car is not spec'd with a panoramic roof or sunroof. So if you do spec your car with one, it will definitely eat into headroom a little bit, and that's just something to consider. But otherwise, in this current setup, headroom is actually pretty good. I've got more than enough headroom, and you know, I'm actually sitting pretty upright right now. I don't think I would normally sit in this position. So yeah. Last thing is that these are actually reclinable, so you are able to recline the seats a little bit. Yeah. So if you don't want to be so upright, you could actually bring yourself down a little bit, and then you've got even more headroom from there. Yeah. If you desire more boot space, which I don't think you need to, the existing boot is already immense. This is, you can actually move the seat forward as well, forward and backwards, by quite a bit. I would say by about 10 cm also. So that's pretty useful. So really cool that the SQ8 is not just a performance SUV, but it's also really, really practical as well. Something that, you know, a family could consider, and it's not, you know, going to, the performance aspect of the car is not going to compromise the practicality aspects of the car. And with that, talking about performance, let's go and give the car a drive and see how it feels on the road. Alright, so now we're going to take the SQ8 out for a drive. And because this car is actually a V8 twin turbocharged V8, you've got this lovely low growl to the car. Actually, inside the car, you can't really hear a lot of this because the car is actually pretty well insulated, which is a little bit of a waste because as a driver then you don't really get to enjoy some of these sounds, right? But if you kind of drag out the revs a little bit, you can hear some of this. Let's get to a little bit of a longer stretch of road and I can show that to you. a lot better. So if you want, you know, you could wind out your windows or something. Now we're in second. Very, very good sounding car. Wonderful sounding car. And around the bends, with all-wheel drive traction, which this car has, this is all-wheel drive. The car feels very, very nice around corners. And for a moment, you do kind of forget that you are in a tall and large SUV. And it's pretty amazing though, because this car packs 500 horsepower in its current setup and 770 Newton meters of torque, which is impressive if you consider that this is a car that weighs about 2.2 tons. So it's a pretty hefty car, but it will go from 0 to 100 in 4.1 seconds, which, you know, from personal experience, the listed 0 to 100 km/h timings are usually a little bit conservative, and you should be able to get a faster timing out of them when you actually try to launch the car as well. So generally, the numbers that they cite are usually a little bit more conservative, and then when you try it out, if you really push it, you know, you generally get that a little bit of a better timing. But of course, this is Singapore, so we're always a little bit careful about doing speed testing here. Don't want to get into trouble. But yes, now we're on this very steep slope at Shears Bridge, and the car just pulls effortlessly. And you know, despite this being a S-Line car, SQ8, not just an S-Line, but like a proper Audi S car, I think that the SQ8 still does its best work as sort of a luxury SUV cruiser. It really is wonderful to just cruise in this car. There's so much power on tap, so much torque on tap, but because of its heft, I would say that you generally wouldn't want to be, you know, accelerating hard, braking hard, chucking into corners. You would probably utilize the power in a way where perhaps you're taking a longer drive and you know, like the highways in front of you and you're just pushing it out. Again, being quite a large car, the SQ8 is surprisingly easy to drive whether you're in town or out on the highway. And one reason is that, of course, you know, with electronic steering now, you've got variable steering or adaptive steering, where the steering becomes a lot lighter when you're around car park speeds or around town, and then as you get up to speed, the steering weight actually increases and you've got a lot more road feel on the car. And earlier on, we were pushing this car around some corners, and I think what I felt was that there's actually quite a good amount of balance in the car. So when you're chucking the corner, like you're chucking the car in the corner left, the front right tire doesn't load a whole bunch, so all the weight doesn't really load there. It keeps quite a balanced weight, and that's actually pretty nice for an SUV, because the last thing you want is for a performance SUV to lean too much into the corner, so to speak. In terms of utilization, I think the SQ8 is a pretty cool car because it is the sort of car where you get the best of both worlds. So as a large size SUV, of course it's not a 7-seater like the SQ7 or the Q7, but the Q8 is perfectly and adequately practical despite its sloping roofline. As I've shown you earlier as well, there's actually quite a lot of headroom and quite a reasonable amount of headroom as well. And for Asians, you know, we're not going to have too much problems with that. So you do get a very practical, a very comfortable car. But when you do want to chuck it around, and when you do want to open up the throttle and let the car run, it is quite a different sensation. Look, see, we've got car, you know, on a day-to-day basis, if you wanted to settle down, put the car into comfort mode, the car is extremely well insulated, extremely quiet, extremely smooth. But of course, when you put it in sports mode, you get a completely different animal. Nice. You get a completely different animal to drive, and one that is actually really, really impressive, considering the fact that this is still an SUV. One thing that you might be interested in is that although this is an S-Line car, the Q8s actually run on an 8-speed Tiptronic. So this is a top converter and not a 7-speed S-Tronic. So when you are putting the car through its paces, you know, trying to grab gears and accelerate hard, you do feel that the transmission is a tad bit slower than the 7-speed S-Tronic, but that's all perfectly fine. You know, I think the 8-speed is better suited for the car when it is cruising long distances, and then when it's going at higher speeds. It provides a little bit more, I don't know how you put it, but it feels more assured in a way. It doesn't feel so wild. It feels a little bit more measured, which I think is probably more in line for a car like that than it is than, for example, an S-Tronic would be, because I think the S-Tronic is extremely quick shifting, and you've got I think that's perfect for smaller, more agile performance cars like maybe the RS3. But you know, in the SQ8, I think the 8-speed Tiptronic does the job really, really well. I'm not sure if it would be more economical if it had a 7-speed S-Tronic, but I'm also of the opinion that you don't really buy a car like the SQ8 for its fuel economy. And probably the last thing I would say about the SQ8 is that if you consider the options in the market right now, and you know, this is a car that's quite similarly and competitively spec'd to other cars in the market, like the Cayenne Coupe, for example, or maybe like an X5. And the price of the SQ8 is actually quite competitive, because what I think Audi has done is to keep the costs focused on things that matter, which of course, you know, provides you with a good amount of tech in the cabin. And I mean, you've got ventilated seats, which are some creature comforts. These red S-Line seats are beautiful, wonderful to sit on. And of course, you know, a lot of that cost is allocated towards the drivetrain, which is an absolutely wonderful drivetrain to utilize on a day-to-day basis. So I think in that sense, this could be one of the more value for money performance SUVs that you could buy. So, if you have enjoyed this review and you want to see more reviews like that, we've got more exciting ones to come as well. I think coming up soon we have the M3 Touring review that's coming up, so do stay tuned for that. Please like this video, share it with your friends, and of course please subscribe to the channel. Please support us. That will enable us to get even nicer cars to review in the future. If not, please take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.